There we go. Perfect timing. My noisy neighbors just came home. As soon as I hit record, start video, clankety clank clank. Hope you guys can't hear it. The iPad was at 0 as far as the battery's concerned. So I've got that plugged in and it's still now it's at 1. Hey Jamie James, just give me a minute to set this up. I'm sitting on the sofa today. I started feeling my vertigo a little bit last night, so I don't want to sit in front of the computer screen. So I'm sitting at the sofa and I'm trying to face away from the lights. So I hope you guys will be able to see me. I'm like, oh no, not the vertigo again. I've been having a lot of issues with that the last few years. Hold on, everybody, just getting the iPad set up. Let's see. There we go. Oh, hey, Rita. Welcome in. Jewel Giacana. Welcome back. Vertigo is terrible. Before I ever had my stage 3 cancer, I had vertigo, but it went away in a few days, but it was bad. But since April of last year, it came back and it actually put me in the hospital at one point. It's really bad. Like super bad. You know what? I'm going to turn on the AC to try to drown out the sounds from upstairs. So just give me a moment. Thank you for waiting. I know it's still early, so almost forgot my mics today too. I was trying to get the iPad going and then I realized like, oh my God, my mics. It's kind of getting hot. The weather's starting to turn here. So I can just imagine what it's going to feel like in Tucson pretty soon. Let's get some people in here. We're only 3 minutes into this. If you're watching on the playback, A&W 0 sugar root beer left over from last night's order. Oh, your late mother suffered from Meniere syndrome? Oh, I'm not sure what that is. Is that the thing that has to do with the inner ear? Yeah, I've already seen like a specialist and they were absolutely no help. But it's quite scary when it happens. I tried to roll. I wasn't feeling right yesterday when I was making the video, and then I was going through my phone last night, and it started to like bother my eyes. And then I rolled over to the left in bed, and I'm like, oh, my brain doesn't feel right, like on the left side, like that's vertigo. And then the cat kept waking me up, and I would get up, and I was like, whoa, Yeah, they checked my ears last time and said that this time it wasn't the inner ear, that it's something in the brain. And I was scanned at the hospital twice, for a brain tumor since, I'm a breast cancer survivor, and they didn't see a tumor. Exactly. It's horrible. And to add, misery to misery, I had to take my bone pill today. Yeah. So let me just try to get through this. Hey, Sosa. Okay, we're taking you out. I remember you, Sosa. Unbelievable. Okay. Uh, First of all, I'm doing the green screen. Yeah, see, my brain is a little slow with all of this. I wanted to put Nancy's house in the background just so you guys could see like the surrounding area and how like deserty it is basically. I know that's a weird word. Deserty, is that such a word? But yeah, it's very far back from the street. and the neighbors are not exactly on top of her. It's pitch dark at night. I'm sure you guys already know this, but due to the wildlife migration, there's no lighting in the neighborhood. So that's the green screen today. Still waiting for some people to come in so I can get myself introduced if there's new people, and we'll get this thing moving. There is a ball game coming today. It might actually be on network television, but I don't plan on missing it like I did most of last night's game. But I just, I had to do last night's video because that was such a big story. What I talked about yesterday, which wasn't Nancy. We had to skip Nancy for one day. There wasn't really any new news yesterday on the Nancy Guthrie case. But there's a lot of things that has been happening the last number of hours. I don't see it on. Oh, 4 o'clock. It's coming on. Okay, just setting up the screen now, so I will remember. Because we get talking on here, and it just can go on and on and on, and I've got to be able to cut that down. Well, 14 people here. I guess I'll just get started. Hopefully, more people will come in. Oh, I understand, Jamie, with your move and everything. So I'm April Davis, PI. I'm a licensed private investigator in Los Angeles, California, and this is a live stream video regarding the Nancy Guthrie case, missing for 98 days. Yeah, I can't even believe I'm saying that. My video series started on February the 2nd, and I've never stopped. If you haven't been watching the videos, go to the Nancy Guthrie playlist and just click play all and just go through them all, because I'm getting a lot of questions. Sometimes I get comments like, well, how come nobody's talking about this? Or how come you've never mentioned this? And it's always something that I have talked about and I have mentioned. Hello, Jack. Are you new here? Where are you coming in from, Jack? The real David. Do you believe she's alive? No, I do not. If she were younger, like if she were a child, then there would be a possibility. But at her age and her health, without her meds, I don't think so at all. It would take a miracle for her to still be alive. Several people wrote me last night on other videos, putting in comments saying, so yesterday, Sergeant Cross in Tucson said that the first deputies on the scene were told that it was a walk away by the family. Now, I have not heard this Sergeant Cross, who does work for Pima County Sheriff's, because I verified that. I have not heard him say that. I know he is one of the people that's against Sheriff Nanos and is, trying to get rid of him. They've clashed a lot in the past. He's even been on suspension for a while, but he is still a Pima County Sheriff's deputy. In fact, he's a sergeant. I didn't hear this, and supposedly it's been on other YouTube channels. Well, there's 150 million YouTube channels, and there are thousands of them talking about Nancy Guthrie, and there's not enough time in my day, my week, my month, or even the rest of my life to hear all of these channels and some of these discussions that go on for 4 to 15 hours at a time. So if anybody here has seen this Sergeant Cross actually say this, that the first deputies on the scene were told that it was a walk away by the family, and they're pointing fingers at Annie Tomaso because they were the ones who called 911. What do you think about that? If that's true, that's another huge red flag. I mean, one that's so big that you'd have to put on a flagpole and, hold it over your shoulder like you were, you know, waving a flag in a parade. I mean, they might as well be on a rose parade float going down the street as the grand marshal's waving the flag that, hey, look at us, if that's true. Did they really say this? Does anybody here know this? Can anybody confirm this? Because, everybody here on my channel is innocent until proven guilty, and we can talk about different things in the news. There's only 6 people here. Oh my gosh, this is going to be very short, people. Yeah, I can't afford to do this on 6 people. Did Sergeant Cross say publicly that The first deputies on the scene were told that it was a walk away by the family. Let me know who's heard about this, because I had a couple people writing me last night in comments of prior videos that I had made about Nancy Guthrie. You're new, Jack. Where are you from, Jack? Let me know. I can't say that Sergeant Cross said this just because somebody else heard it on YouTube. Yeah, I get people that come into my show all the time like, oh, they just arrested somebody and, Tommaso's just been hauled away in handcuffs. It's not true. Like, oh, Canada. Welcome in, Canada. My dad was naturalized Canadian. Some of my besties have been from Canada. So, yeah, always welcome Canada here. Everybody's welcome, actually, as long as everybody behaves. Remember, no religion, no politics, no cursing, and no bullying each other in the chat. If you want to bully me, that's fine. I'll just take you out for 24 hours because I need the clicks. I need the engagement. So, just setting up the rules for the new people. Who has heard this about this Sergeant Cross? And we still don't know the timeline as to when Annie Tommaso called 911 versus when Annie called Savannah and said, Mom is missing. It seemed like several hours had passed because Savannah said, well, call the hospitals. I'll call the hospitals. And Annie said, oh, I already did that. Oh, I'll call them again. Well, so they already had time to hear from the church lady that she didn't show up at her house, to drive over there sometime later, be in the house for so many minutes before they call 911, then another, 10 or 15 minutes for the first deputies to arrive on scene, and then, to look for her and give their statements. And was the blood evidence at the front door discovered right away, or were they brought around through like a side entrance through the garage? I don't know. While the deputies were there, they realized, oops, I think we have more than a missing senior alert here because we have blood on the scene. Did Annie and Tommaso see that? Did they bring them in through a side door to avoid them seeing that? April, what does claim XP mean? I just clicked it and I have a crown on the top of the left screen. Oh, it just has to do with how many people have commented. Let's see. It's called a top fan crown. I don't totally know the whole thing. I don't think it's pertinent, but you got a crown, which means you're the number one commenter. So, yeah, they came to the scene, but at what time after they searched and did reports and put out an APB for a missing senior, at what time, how many hours passed? Because remember, Savannah, she was at Carson Daly's with the kids while her husband was on a tennis trip with the boys. Yeah, that's a whole other issue. That's a whole nother story. But at what time did Savannah get contacted? And then supposedly Savannah got on the phone with the cops and said, oh no, she was immobile. Some days she couldn't even walk to the mailbox because her back was so bad. Like she couldn't have walked 50 feet. She couldn't have walked off the property. She didn't just walk away. She'd be right there, like if she did, because she wouldn't have been able, due to mobility and health issues, she wouldn't have made it that far. It always seems suspicious to me that there's all these different timelines as to when Annie and Tommaso got the call from the lady at the church, what time they went over to the house, even though they lived 10 minutes away, what time they called the cops, what time the cops got there. Apparently, it was a few minutes later. What time did they start calling the hospitals? And how many hours passed before she went, oh, maybe I should call Savannah and ask her if she's heard from Mom? Hey, Texas Diane, welcome in. I just think that that's strange. And I'm not naming them as suspects. If you want to see my suspect video after this video, go watch my long form content on the suspect list. It's interesting. Remember, everybody here is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But at least 2 people sent me messages since last night saying that Sergeant Cross from Pima County Sheriff's stated somewhere that deputies on scene were led to believe that Nancy just walked away. Who did he say this to? Was this something that was said in confidence that's leaked? Is this something that all these YouTubers, boots on the ground, have made up? How is this information coming across? Can we verify that Sergeant Cross from the Pima County Sheriff's Department has put that information out there for the masses to hear? I want to know, because I'm not going to say it's true if I don't know that it's true. Somebody wrote me, and they obviously haven't been watching my videos, but that's okay. Maybe they're new here. Somebody wrote and said, why hasn't anyone talked about who was power of attorney, or why hasn't the 911 call been released? And did anyone know that Annie asked her mom for a loan and was told no? And I responded, very quick response, because I'm getting so many comments now. Actually, my videos have covered all of the above. Yeah, we talked about the lack of evidence of any power of attorney that exists. We talked about that they can't release the 911 call because it's a piece of evidence to an active criminal investigation. There's information in that 911 call that they don't want the public or the perpetrators to know that they have. That will not be released. The earliest you could see that is if somebody gets arrested and goes to trial, and then that will probably come out. Did anyone know that Annie asked her mom for a loan and was told no? We can't prove this. And I've talked about this many, many times. Supposedly, she told a friend, and the friend privately told somebody else. Okay? But who? Who was the friend? Has she gone on record? Has she been interviewed by the news? Has she been interviewed by the mainstream media? Has she been interviewed by one of the YouTubers that are the boots on the ground? Who said this? What friend? You know, it could very well be true. It may be true, but we can't report it as such when we don't know who said it and when. That Annie had, obviously before her mother disappeared, had asked her for a loan. We don't know that. Just like, we were told about Nancy being late on the property taxes or being delinquent. It was past the due date, but her taxes were not delinquent and they were paid in full on April the 15th. I've talked about that. I showed a copy of the record on my YouTube channel. We also talked about how on May the 1st, which is the delinquent day, that Annie Tomasos were reported as delinquent and they tacked on a 16% interest. But I said the check could be in the mail. The check could be sitting on somebody's desk and they just haven't updated the system yet. And by Monday, May 4th, the system was updated and the payment was considered payment in full as of April 29th. So were they a little past due? Yes. Were they delinquent? No. There's a difference. The past due date is March 2nd. Delinquent is not until May 1st. And many people wait until the last moment. So, no, they're not delinquent on their taxes. No, Nancy was never delinquent going back to 2019 because only the records online go back to 2019. If you want to go further back, you'd have to go to Pima County Treasurer's office and ask them. And I don't know if they would even provide that information to the public. But no, Nancy wasn't late. Annie and Tommaso, they were almost late, but they did get that check in the mail somehow. There's only power of attorney that's online, that's on record, is one that he signed to his wife for a separate property, not the property they live in, but another property that they own. Let me take a swig of root beer. Especially with this like vertigo kind of coming back. And if it gets really bad, I'd have to skip some days of making videos because it just gets that bad. Let's see. Can anybody still hear me? I see we got 14 people. I'm sure you're just listening to me rant here. And if I look off today, if you weren't here at the beginning, my vertigo kind of a little bit started to bother me yesterday and last night. So I'm still a little unsteady on my feet today. Can anybody hear me? The last person I saw was Texas Diane, who I already said hi to. And Jack, if you're still here, what part of Canada are you in, if you don't mind me asking? My dad was on the east coast of Canada in New Brunswick. Brian says, I hear you. Well, thank you, Brian. And thank you for coming in. So, yeah, why hasn't anyone talked about who was power of attorney? Why hasn't the 911 call been released? And why did anyone know about Annie asking her mom for a loan and was told no? I've talked about all of this. Thank you, Texas Diane. Hello, Bonnie. Welcome in. And that's all I told them. Maybe they were new. It was from a user 100 turbine. And that's public because it was a comment. That's a public comment. Now, if somebody sent me an email, it would be completely private. And a couple of viewers did write me saying, yesterday, Sergeant Cross in Tucson said that the first deputies on the scene were told that it was a walk away by the family. And now all the other, YouTubers that are talking about this are reporting this today. This could be totally true. And if it is true, it just adds further suspicion to the people that the police were initially investigating for quite a long time. You usually eliminate family members and people close to the victim within the first 48 hours, not, 5 or 6 weeks later. But once again, according to Nanos, the family has been cleared. According to Savannah, or people that have talked to Savannah, she becomes livid if anybody points the finger in the direction of anyone in the Guthrie family. But, maybe Savannah just doesn't want to open her eyes to things, or maybe we don't know the whole story, and maybe they're completely innocent. I still think there's a mastermind here, or a puppet master, or as I call it, the queen bee, and then there's the worker bees. And a lot of, people that are criminal profilers are saying that the guy at the front door may possibly be deceased, as in DEAD now. He could be, but I don't think so in this particular case. And there's a reason I think that. Yeah, they still need to identify the guy at the front door. But when you have people that show up in a ski mask with a weapon in gloves, and they are watching the house weeks in advance, they even scope out the front door weeks in advance, that's somebody that came and took her in the middle of the night. Now, for what purpose? We don't know. Kidnapping, for ransom, abduction, in order to unalive her. There's so many possibilities. I don't believe the robbery theory. I don't believe the burglary theory. So far, there's no evidence that anything was taken. The house was described as immaculate. Burglars or robbers, they just go through stuff and make a mess really quick. Nobody made a mess here. Everybody was very cautious. Have I talked about Nancy's birthday? I know that her birthday was it December 27th? What is it about Nancy's birthday? What do you know, Bonnie? Let us know. Because after 98 days, and no new evidence coming in, I'm literally running out of things to talk about. And I'd like to keep going. I'd like to keep the case relevant, but it looks like I'm going to have to just keep the videos, kind of fewer than what I've been doing. And I need to have time to go out and make some long form content. And I'm hoping that whatever's going on with my vertigo since yesterday, that it improves. And some people say that it could be some of the medication that I take for my heart. And if that's the case, I'm kind of screwed because I have to take those things for the rest of my life. So I'm not trying to complain here, but I'm just like, oh no, this can't be happening again now. Um, oh, January 27th. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Not, did I say December? I'm in vertigo. Things aren't working right. Hey, Lori, welcome in. Pamela, I have vertigo too. It's fun. Not exactly, Pamela. Well, at least I'm not, they say misery loves company, but I wouldn't wish it on anybody. C. Brown, she's been DEAD, in my opinion. Murders don't have a reason, and why isn't the question Anyway, it's what do they do now? You have to go on living. Yeah, I do believe that they have to go on living. And Savannah has, a job and a husband and children. And, she can't just sit out in hiding with Annie and Tommaso going from place to place as they were doing in Tucson. And her mother wouldn't want her to do that either because life has to go on. But we have to keep this case relevant. We have to find out what happened to Nancy and we have to find out who's behind it. And they need to be, arrested, tried, convicted, and sentenced. And hopefully spend the rest of their miserable lives behind bars, even if that means family. I hope it doesn't, because if it does, it's going to kill Savannah. You can hear me in Texas. Thank you, Jewel. So has anybody else heard what we talked about earlier about this Sergeant Cross stating that the deputies at the scene were misled to believe that it was a walkaway? That's kind of scary. If that's true. But I can't confirm that's true. Bonnie says, I also heard that Savannah was not on TV for a few days before Nancy's birthday. Do you think someone was planning on being at Nancy's house? I don't know. I don't know who she celebrated with. I know that Savannah had missed work in January because she had a vocal cord surgery. And she was getting ready to go to Italy to go host the Olympics for NBC. C. Brown Ghost is exactly correct. Prison for life. Hey, Kathy. Pamela in Arizona. I feel she'll be found in a wash somewhere. There's so much desert out there. I know. And they've wasted so much time actually looking for her. It was just like, okay, wrap up the scene in 20 hours and that's it. And then, 4 days plus later, the FBI comes in due to the ransom demands. Hi, Brian Ray. Yeah, this case has been just, I've never seen anything like this in my life. And I'm not a cop, but I am a private detective. And I can't even believe everything that has transpired in this case. Who are they looking for? They're looking for Nancy Guthrie. They thought that Savannah may be at Nancy's that weekend for her birthday. I'm not sure, but I don't think so because she was getting ready to go to Italy and she was recovering from surgery. So she could, most of January, she couldn't speak after the surgery. Any updates on Nano's removal? No, but I think it's getting closer. Just to be honest, Leanne, I think it's getting closer. And, that's not going to help this case in any way. What's already been done has been done. And what's been messed up from the start's been messed up from the start. But it's another gigantic red flag in this case. I can see them literally on a Rose Bowl float going down Colorado Boulevard waving a flag like, oh, look at me, if that's true that they told the deputies on scene, meaning Annie Tommaso told them that they thought it was a walkaway. I hope that that's just another BS rumor that's out there, but I got a couple people sending me messages about that. But if I can't confirm it here, I'll tell you, this is what we've heard. This is what I've heard, but I can't confirm it. And I can't confirm that this Sergeant Cross ever said that. Hey, Jeannie. Is it Jean or Jeannie? Let me know. Thank you so much. Where are you coming in from? I haven't seen you before. Is it Jeannie U. Beck? 9973? Thank you so much. Well, that means a lot to me. That gives me reason to keep going with this. Let's see. Everybody give Jeannie a thumbs up. Oh, it's Jean. Okay, Jean. I do remember you, Casey. Let's see. Texas Diane says, I believe if the sheriff, what, you believe that Sergeant Cross said what he said? You're from Chicago. Well, my parents were born in Illinois. In fact, everybody except me and my sister were all from Illinois. Um, yeah, okay, Leanne says thumbs up. So let me go back for just a minute. In regard, when I said give a thumbs up, yeah, you can just like that's fine, but you can just hit it on the super chat. There's like a little thumbs up button. You love Chicago. My neighbor's from Chicago. She's a good friend of mine. Sounds like a cool city, but it would be a little cold for me in the wintertime. Okay, Casey, we're just going to keep the conversation. Thank you, but we're going to keep the conversation to Nancy Guthrie. And has anybody else heard this the last few days that this Sergeant Cross alleges that this is what he found out from the deputies on the scene? Is this true that Annie Tomaso tried to sway it towards she walked away? I mean, I have a hard time believing that because if they were the caregivers, they would know that there's no way she could have walked away. And if they really said that, then I mean, I don't know, maybe they should just put a billboard out in front of their house saying, arrest us, we're guilty. But, you know, I don't believe all these things that we're hearing about Annie Tomaso unless we can prove it, unless we can prove about this power of attorney that I have no record of. We can't prove that he's not teaching the 25-26 school year. We can't confirm the financial issues. We can't confirm the gambling debts that are alleged, the alleged financial problems, the alleged debts, the alleged claim that both of them are not working, the alleged claim that Annie asked her mother for money and they got upset and now this has happened. I've got my mojo. Welcome back. All of this has to be proven. But I still believe Ashley Banfield when she said from week one that according to one of her law enforcement sources, that was somebody in high up, I think it was somebody within the FBI, said that at the time that the number one suspect was Tommaso Cioni. Now that was never been publicly stated. This is a confidential news source, or it's a confidential law enforcement source that's reported by a mainstream news person. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, she's just saying that for clicks. I don't think she is. Now, does that mean that this guy is involved? Not at all. They always look at the family first. But I'll guarantee you, if it turns out that way that he's involved, then Annie would be too. Uh, Casey says, I think I know where she is. Well, let us know, Casey. I'll call it into the FBI if you can prove it. Texas Diane, I think if Sheriff No didn't have control of this, I believe this would have been a different outcome. I think so too. I don't think the crime scene should have been um, unsecured after 20 hours after the cops arrived. It's ludicrous. And I've also heard just a rumor, that Annie Tomaso, but especially Tomaso, that he's very good friends with Sheriff Nanos, and supposedly they go boating and fishing together. But that could be made up as well. At home. What does that mean, Texas Diane? I have the house in the background. Nancy's house on the green screen. Who's at home? And this Casey Pell, who I accidentally yesterday said Cassie, and then I think it's Casey. You think you know where she is? My kid said, I know where she is. Grown kids, little kids? Do these kids live in Tucson? Let us know, Casey. We're all waiting to hear from you. Like, seriously. Not trying to be facetious about this, like, for real. See Brown go. That crime scene was stomped on too fast. Absolutely. It should have been on lockdown. Absolutely. Hey, Brian, he's asking Casey too. Let's hear it. Where is she? Is she alive? Is she deceased? Where is she? That's the number one question, because even if you call the FBI, they don't even want to hear the suspect list. They don't even care about that at this point. They just want to know, where is she? My kid said that I don't know where she is. Okay, let's just stop this, Casey. You said you knew where she was. Then you said it was your kids that they know, and now they don't know. You don't know. Okay, moving on, Casey. 29 people here. Thank you so much. 13 people with a thumbs up. Smash that like button. I hope you're all subscribed. You know, today I already hit 2,800. I didn't check it right before I went on the air, but I think I'm going to have like some sort of an online, celebration when I hit 3,000. No problem, Casey. Kathy says, I feel she is gone. Absolutely. Hey, Susan M. Are you the Susan M in Michigan? Just let me know. Also known as Sue. I hope so, because I got a lot of Susans and a lot of Sues. We got Sue Brockton, Sue M from Michigan. I've got Sue Johnson now. Hey, V Miss. You're the Massachusetts Sue. Or Susan. So you're not the Sue that's been contributing to the Amazon wish list. You're a different Sue. Kathy Doherty is in Massachusetts too. Well, welcome in, Massachusetts. We got Canada today. We got Massachusetts. Lots of Sues. I got tons of Kellys, Kathys, Karens, and Sues. Although I haven't seen the Kellys or the Karens in here today. And is Cassie Pal, Casey Pal, or Cassie Pal? You are the Diet Ginger, Sue? So you're in Massachusetts and not Michigan. Well, then who is Sue in Michigan? You are the Diet Ginger Beer, Sue. Okay. Welcome in. I've always wondered what your username was. The Karens are changing their names. Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. You know, I have a Thai family that I sponsor, and she has her Thai name, and then she had an American nickname, but she thought it sounded too childish. So once she was here and she had her green card and she started her career after her degree from Thailand, she decided to make a new American name, and she picked Karen, and everybody was like, ah, ha, ha, ha. And she had no idea what anybody was talking about. And it's so weird because I know her husband now, and he's like, Karen, and I'm looking around like, who's Karen? VMS, I agree with you 100%. I think Sheriff Nano's days are numbered. Okay, so Amazon Sue is from Massachusetts, not Michigan. But Sue, that is short for Susan. We have another Sue now. Yeah, Sue Johnson. And she's sending stuff now. And I'm just like, oh my God. Oh, she sent a couple of things. And I'm not sure where she's from. Lori. Oh, that's a gorgeous one, a sundae. That sounds yummy. Thank you for the sundae, Lori Smith. And remember, my vertigo kind of came back last night, so my brain, and I can kind of feel it yesterday afternoon when I was doing my video, but last night it started to get kind of like, whoa, especially when I go to bed, that's when I notice it the most, and I couldn't turn my head completely this way, and I'm like, oh no. And a couple times when I got up, I had to like get up really, very carefully, and then this morning the the vision was kind of like, and I'm like, oh, but it wasn't terrible. It was just like it's creeping on me. And so that's why I decided I'm not even going to sit at my desk and have the computer behind me, because while that's going behind me and this is going in front of me, that'll just be too much for my brain to handle. And I don't want to just like boop and just keel over. If I do, it's nothing serious. It's just a vertigo. So okay, so Susan M is from Massachusetts, not Michigan, and you are the diet ginger beer gal. That has just I love you for that, Susan. That's one of my favorite things to receive. Um, oh my gosh. Speaking of Sue's, welcome in, Sassy Granny 8. And thank you so much, honey, for your membership too. I most of the members that I had, I gifted them, or somebody else, Kathy Mowery gifted them. So for someone just to join, like because he want to join, that means the world to me. So you are in Buffalo, New York. Okay. And you are Sue Johnson. V Miss 5 said, did you guys see the clip of Nanos coming out of the sheriff's office today? Yes, I did. One of the streamers asked if he was any closer to solving the case, and he didn't want to talk about it and said, we are. Is that the one where they came up to him and they said, tomorrow is Mother's Day? And they asked him some questions about Nancy Guthrie. The one that I saw where they asked about the Mother's Day, he was just like, no, no, thank, like, I don't want to speak. Texas Diane says, I said if another sheriff other than Sheriff Nanos, I believe the outcome of Nancy's case would have a different outcome. It's very possible. Thank you, Sassy Granny. And Sassy Granny, say hello to Susan M, because you're both Sues. And then we have what makes it even more. Now we have, I know it's a different name, but it's similar. We have a Sandra, who is actually a neighbor of Miss Nancy's, who lives in the Catalina foothills, whose former husband worked at the same news station in Tucson with Savannah when they were just starting their career. And I haven't seen her lately, but she's definitely been a good friend to the channel. So we have all that. We have the Sues and the Sandras, and oh, the Sandy from Seattle now, and that's a whole other story if you've missed all that. Like, we finally found the person that changed my identity. And it was Sandy in Seattle, but not Sandra in Tucson. Um, hey, cousin. Everybody say hello to Brenda Lesesny. She is my first cousin. I only have two, and she's one of them. And she is a supporter of the channel as well. And she is also a channel member. And she's actually a level 2 member. And she brought it to my attention that there was no level 3, and that's because YouTube wouldn't let me start that right away. But I have added a level 3. I'm not sure what we're going to do with that. Lori Smith says, grounding helps a lot for vertigo. Yes, I've heard that. Welcome in, Brenda. I hope you're doing good. Say hello to Brian. Yeah, we're at day number 98, and there's not a whole heck of a lot to talk about. But I did go over today some of the comments that were made about this Sergeant Cross and how he's claiming that the original deputies at the scene of the crime were misled by Annie Tomaso, allegedly, can't confirm any of this, that they told him they thought it was a walkaway. Karen, speaking of Karens, here we go. Thank you, honey, for the clapping seal. Your crystals are off. That's what it was years ago before I had cancer. I had a really bad bad vertigo episode, and it was the crystals. But since this one came after the cancer, I had to go see a specialist. They looked deep into my ears and they said it's not the crystal thing this time, that it's something in my brain. And they actually did 2 CAT scans in the emergency room to see if maybe I had a brain tumor since I am a cancer survivor. And, the chances of cancer coming back can sometimes be fairly high to either the brain, the lungs, or the bones. But everything was fine on that end. So I think it's a medication that's causing it. In fact, I should talk to Brenda about it because she would know about stuff like that. Karen Dunn, another Karen. Like we have Karen Unz, we have Karen Gay, we've got Karen Dunn, there's at least 4 Karens now. There's about 16 Kathys. I can't even, I've lost track of all the Kellys, and now we have all the new Sues coming in. Um, and most of the Kathys are with a K, so I always call Kathy Doherty Kathy with a C. So, yeah, we don't have any evidence that this information that's got out by this Sergeant Cross is even true. I'd like to know if it's true because it just adds further red flags to certain people who were named suspects at the beginning. But remember, on my channel, everybody is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. And for the person that wrote me, and I'll say it for the 3rd time here, in case you guys are just coming in, somebody wrote me. They must be new to my channel. And they said, why hasn't anyone talked about who was power of attorney? Or why hasn't the 911 call been released? And did anyone know Annie asked her mom for a loan and was told no? And my one-line response was, actually, my videos have covered all of the above. We've talked about this until I'm blue in the face. The potentially false information about the power of attorney, what power of attorney I actually found, which had nothing to do with Nancy. Uh, Obvious why the 911 call hasn't been released. It's a piece of evidence in an active criminal investigation. Which is probably now a homicide investigation. And did anyone know that Annie asked her mom for a loan? Nobody knows this. Nobody can prove any of this. Uh, all we can say is that Annie and Tommaso bought a very expensive house on a school teacher's salary, and people here have been reporting that he hasn't worked all year, but I don't know that. Maybe he's independently wealthy from his band. Who knows? We can't just pick up these things that we hear on the internet, especially from other YouTubers, even those that have like a 500,000 subscribers, and say, oh, because this person, he or she said this, that it's true. Everything has to be proven. That is a big house. Oh, do you mean Nancy's house? The one that's in the green screen? That's Nancy's house. But Annie Tommaso, they have a pretty big house too. Hey, Patrick, welcome in. Why they did not show inside of the house? Because it's an active criminal investigation. But if you want to see Nancy's bedroom, there's a Today segment where she actually shows the bedroom, her bed, where she was, according to Savannah, dragged out of her bed in the middle of the night. And that's kind of creeped out. It creeped me out. Everybody was like that I talked to was like, yeah, that was creepy to see that. There is a Today Show segment where she shows how to make the bed. It's pretty funny, actually. I wonder if Annie asked for money from Savannah. Probably. I have a sister that doesn't work that's asked me for years for money. But we won't go into that. Um, sometimes you can help people and sometimes you can't. Especially if you have part of the family that's everybody's working, and then you have a part of the family where nobody goes to work. Where is this at? This is Tucson, Arizona. This is the Catalina foothills. And I feel like I know so much more about the neighborhood because of some of the YouTubers that have been the boots on the ground, including JLR. No matter how you feel about them, positive or negative, whether you love them or you hate them, you know, he has done a very good job as far as showing the area. Now I have this new friend, Sandra, who lives in Catalina Foothills. She knows Savannah, like, it's amazing. Like, I've learned so much about Tucson, the city of Tucson. It seems like it's a very small town. If you watch my video, the suspect video that's on my main content, like if you go to the main video tab on my channel and you go to the suspect list, it makes Tucson seem very small because all these yahoos, characters, actors in this soap opera seem to be connected on paper through the 6 degrees of separation. But this woman, Sandra, who actually lives there, she said, Tucson is actually pretty big. It's not like LA big, but it's pretty big. And just like any other city, it has its problems. Um, Patrick, Annie asked her mom for money. She said no the night before. We don't know that, Patrick. We don't know. Who is Anne? You mean Annie or Anne? Her name is Anne. Anne Pierce, Anne Guthrie Pierce, and she may or may not legally be married to Sione. Some people say she is, some people say she isn't. But she goes by Annie, but her actual name is Anne. C. Brown Ghost says, I have a sister like that also. It's very typical in families. But it doesn't mean that one person is good and one person is bad. Some people, have children and are the caregivers, and, some people are the worker bees. Yes, Kathy Doherty says she's the daughter. She is Nancy's daughter. And she is older than Savannah, but the oldest is Cameron. And Patrick says the son-in-law did it. We don't know that yet. But if any of this information is true about what people are claiming that this Sergeant Cross said, then it's not looking good. But that could be complete BS. Leanne Rayner, Jennifer Coffendorfer, I know who she is, former FBI agent, did great segments on all of the Guthrie family members and why she believes that the family members are not suspects. Yeah, and wouldn't it be something if this all gets solved and they find out that the Guthrie family is not involved in this in any way, then I actually would feel sorry for them that they've had to go through all this. Like, I still feel sorry for Mr. and Mrs. Ramsey. And, Patty Ramsey, also known as Patricia Ramsey, she's been deceased for years, and I still feel bad for her. Patrick says he was the last one to see her alive. Well, that's what they're saying, but that doesn't mean he did it because he gave her a ride home. There's so much more to this that we don't know. Remember, this is a 500-piece puzzle. We only know at most 5 to 10%. So you try to put a 500-piece puzzle together with only, 25 to 50 pieces. It's impossible. And according to Savannah, they were her wonderful caregivers. And I'm sure the Guthrie family, especially Savannah, she probably knows more about this than we do because it's her, it's her mother that's missing. And she's adamantly against that anybody's involved. But that there could be the conscious mind of Savannah versus the unconscious, like I can't even see that. It's like kids that get SA'd as children, and it's so bad, it's so traumatic that their brain doesn't even remember it until 20 or 30 years later because it's just too traumatic to even accept. The whole thing is just a shame, Kathy. That's a very good comment. I think she passed within the past. I thought that she might have even died in the house at first, but then once I heard the evidence, especially about the blood and the aspiration and the oxygenated blood, I realized, and the heart was still going when the pacemaker unsynced 30 feet away from her devices. She was alive when they took her away, but she was already in poor shape and she didn't have her medication. There's also a rumor that she didn't even take her Saturday night meds, which is even a bigger red flag for me. Like, well, why didn't she take her meds when she got home before she went to bed? Like, if that's true, that she didn't take her Saturday evening doses, that puts her in further peril. I don't think that medically speaking, she could survive. I know I wouldn't, and I'm young enough to be her daughter if I didn't take my heart medication. So but if you don't have a body, you have to keep looking. But see, that's the problem. Everybody's trying to solve the case, but nobody's actually out there looking for this poor woman. And you've got people like the United Cajun Navy, who's a very reputable organization that's willing to come out there, even in the heat, you know, and search for free. Bring it on. Why have people not been searching? We're at day number 98. Even when they heard a signal a few months ago out in the desert that they thought could be a pacemaker, they just put the sniffer chopper out there. They didn't put boots on the ground, and they had a GPS location. Go to that location, see what you find. Where are the cadaver dogs? They had the scent dogs that came from Border Patrol the night she disappeared or the night after, but where are the cadaver dogs? Why are not her kids looking for her? Well, we don't know that. I think Savannah has her PIs on it. But yeah, when they come out of the house, they're hiding under hoodies going, "Oh, don't look at me. Don't look at me." I'm a detective. That shows deception. That shows shame. Why are you ashamed? You should be coming out, you see the cameras, you should run to the people like, "Oh my god, my mother's missing, please help me." You should be begging the cameras, "Please, somebody help us." You don't go out and go, "Oh, I don't want anybody to see me. I'm gonna hide." It's just and it doesn't mean that they're involved. But what the heck are they hiding? Why are you acting like that? Just it's boiling my blood pressure right now, their behavior. But we don't know that her kids are not looking for her. Uh, oh my gosh. Uh, that's what I was thinking. Hey, Brian. Hello, my friend. Be proud. Yeah, we've talked about this before, people. Everybody here is welcome. Unbelievable. My dead boyfriend is rolling in his grave right now. He's going, oh my gosh. Like Anne was in the car. Yeah, and also her body language when her and Savannah and Cameron were all sitting together, like fake holding hands. And Savannah was obviously the lead, and she was reading from a script. And, Annie's eyes were like in outer space. Now, could she have been medicated? Possibly. And then she shows up the day before Savannah leaves town with a greeting card that says, something about ashes and burning embers. Like, your mother is missing. Patrick says, I don't think they're never going to find her ever. Patrick, you may be right, sir. I hope you're wrong. I hope they do find her. But for every moment that this goes and it doesn't happen, the chances are getting slimmer and slimmer, especially when the sheriff's department, they don't have any boots on the ground that are out physically searching for her. V-Miss says, if I was Annie and Tommaso, I would be speaking up. Of course you would. Savannah, she's been begging on the Today Show, like before she actually started co-hosting again. That interview with Hoda. Hoda Copy. What a disaster that interview was. Oh my God. And I'm not even a broadcaster, at least not a professional broadcaster. Well, semi when I get my check May 21st. No, you know. Um, gosh, my friend that passed away, who was an actor, a stunt woman, a DJ, a broadcaster, a model, a weather girl chick. If she was only here now, and we'd be talking about this case. I mean, I would bring her on if she were here now, because she would have just, like, fallen out of her chair seeing that interview between Savannah and Hoda. She could be in a house somewhere. That is true, Patrick, and that's what continually goes through my mind, because I hear Elizabeth Smart in the background saying, "She could be alive and don't stop looking." But she was an 84-year-old woman, not like a teenage missing. Um, TBE or Tibetical? I don't know how to pronounce it. Years later, they will find out someone in the family had something to do with it. Quite possibly, but maybe not. B-Miss5 said, "I saw a video of Annie and Savannah. They were talking about how close they are and have always been. They just went on and on. It's from a couple of years ago, but they are that close. But if they are that close, I'd Annie or Hubs." I'm not sure what you said there. What about the Annie and Hubs were involved? I feel like Savannah would know. Yeah, I think she would, unless it's something so traumatic that she's had to block it out. And remember, I still think this is a group, and I think there's a mastermind. She could be telling them she doesn't want to go to that house anymore. If Annie and Hubs, okay. Yeah, we don't know. We don't know who is responsible for this. All I know is it's day number 98, and, other than the first 20 hours and then sending the DNA to the wrong lab, the sheriff's department looks like they're doing absolutely nothing. And the FBI, they've been the boots on the ground, but they've already sent all their agents back to the other offices, mostly in Phoenix. Hey, Anthony, I just don't think it's the family, but who knows? Yeah, I know that the person at the front door is definitely not Annie or Tommaso. Definitely think that, and I've called my tips into the FBI, but I'm not investigating the case. But I can't say too much here. I'm going to get myself in trouble. Remember, everybody here is innocent until proven guilty. Mm. Patrick says no, there was more than one. I think so. Completely. There could be more than two. Miss says she meant definitely. Definitely not. Yeah, we don't know. Unless the front porch guy is someone that's hired by them, which that may not be the case. But somebody was very familiar with that house, and that further confirms my theory about the guy at the front door. Like, I so badly want to be able to tell you guys more, but I'm just not going to say it here. And the back door was unlocked and open. Yes, it was. That's what we're hearing. But we also heard from the sheriff at the beginning that there was forced entry, and now we're hearing that that's not true. And we have how many timelines do we have from Sheriff Nanos? I've lost track. C. Brown Go, welcome in. The guy in the video, his eyes make my stomach flip. Sick feeling, like an instinct. Yep. Miss5 says streamers went up to the empty house last night. Lots of junk around, but a fresh bowl of water for an animal. Kinda weird. Oh, you mean Nancy's house? That's possible, Patrick. Someone was already in the house before she came back home. That's very possible. Kathy Doherty says just the mask. Everything about this is strange. This is not a typical. If this really is a kidnapping for ransom, there's no case on record that's ever been like this. Just saying. And not one thing taken. Exactly. Not that we know of. We'd only know that for sure if we could ask Miss Nancy to do an inventory of her house, and I don't think that's ever going to happen again. And what a nightmare that the house and the finances and all of this, depending on what her trust says, this could all be hung up for will. I mean, this could be hung up for years. Apparently, she had a living trust, or at least she had the house in a trust, and she was her own trustee. And depending on the rest of her estate and, how it's laid out, and lawyers are going to have to go into this, and it's going to get very messy and complicated because first they would have to declare her dead. And it depends on, how that works in Arizona. I mean, this is just going to be a big, big mess. The Miss Vibe. No, the house that's been talked about, thinking they could be the perpetrators. Oh, you mean the one up at they call it the house across the street, but it's actually the one at the end of the cul-de-sac. It's abandoned. Lots of odd activity there before and after Nancy's disappearance. Yeah, we've talked about that house and the owner and the situation with that house. They were in there at least 41 minutes that we can prove, but we don't know how many. We don't know who opened the back doors. We don't know who came in through the back gate and propped the back doors open. We don't know why there were tire track marks, like cart marks, near the front door, but that got all stepped on after they released the scene too soon. People were living there when she went missing. Then they just left the house and it's just sitting. But now there's a water bowl out there for an animal. Oh, you mean at the house? I've even given the address before and the owner, the Levys. Well, it's now their daughter, but she doesn't actually live there, and they have a crew that goes back and forth from Mexico. But yeah, somebody did leave that house um, around the time that this happened. Wavy gravy. This case is 100% a psyop? What does that mean? Enlighten me here. And I got 3 minutes. 3 minutes before my ball game. So get those thumbs ups in now. If you guys are going to send a free jewel or something, do it now. The blood stopped at that, and so had to be a car there. Could be. We don't know that. I wonder if they stole papers. Exactly, Jewel. They were in there a long time. I wonder if she has a safe in there and they were looking for documents. It means you are being lied to. This is a big, giant mess. And it's day number 98. 98. And they still haven't had boots on the ground looking for her in the desert. Like, she could be so close to her home. Yes, a PI came out there last night and looked around with the streamers. Okay. This is so messed up. Somebody does get arrested and they get a good lawyer. It's going to be very hard to, point the finger at somebody unless they get good DNA evidence that's substantial. Wavy gravy. It's all fake. Wake up. No, she's really missing. And she's probably no longer with us. Poor Savannah. The poor grandkids. Poor Annie Tomaso if they're not involved in this. And if they are, shall they rot in hell? Excuse my language. Hell. Yeah, if they're involved. If. They may not be. Wonder Woman. Why do we pay cops if they really can't do the job? Well, we gotta get rid of Nanos. I can't do it. I don't live in Tucson, but he needs to go. It's a distraction and you fell for it. 98 days worth. I don't think so. It is what it is. Very sad. I hate to ask that, B Miss. She says, "Wavy, a distraction from what?" Yeah, we probably won't even go there. I'm still waiting for an answer. It's okay. I was wondering the same thing. Remember, the pros and cons and the joys of monetization. But I appreciate everybody that's come in, and I appreciate everybody that's subscribed. Let's get me up to 3,000 so that we can have like an online, 3,000 sub party. That could actually be sooner than I think if people keep, following my channel and sharing the channel and hyping the videos. You were feeling brave for a moment. Thank you, Venus. Oh, Army Vet 420 coming from Fort Hachaga? I can't pronounce that. Where is that at? First time viewer. Chat chat. Well, you know what, Army? You're gonna have to go to my playlist and go to the Nancy Guthrie list if you're interested in this case and just hit play all. Because I've been talking about this for 98 days and there is so much. But it's not the only thing I report on. So I hope you're subscribed, Army. Where are you coming in from? Because I don't know where that fort is. Fort Huachuca? It's in Arizona. Oh, okay. Well, then you might be familiar with this case. And you're probably familiar with the desert surrounding Tucson. Boy, I wish they could put the Army as boots on the ground out there to help with this case. The Army, the National Guard, the United Cajun Navy, volunteers. Because basically they just wrapped this up in a neat little box with a ribbon on top in the first 20 hours and said, okay, we're done. You are by Sierra Vista? Or Texas Diane says by Sierra Vista. I don't know where that is. They have. Who's been searching? Wonder Woman. Maybe you need to run the investigation. I'm a PI in California. Although I have in the past, I had an Arizona license briefly, just because one of my people was like, "Hey, maybe you should get licensed in other states," and I did. But then I was so busy in California, I never used it. Yeah, poor Jim, the 70-year-old man was out in the heat all day today. Yeah, the heat and the desert like environment is just it's going to be brutal from this point forward, probably all the way to October, and or it's just about the time that Los Angeles heats up and catches fire. That's when we'll know that it's cooling off in Phoenix, Tucson, and Vegas. They'll start to actually, go the other way, and then we'll be suffering here. Jim was searching for Nancy. Okay, yeah, 98 days, and I just think they need to have more boots on the ground. And I think they could even solve maybe other cases while they're out, even if they don't find Nancy. I hope they do, but it wouldn't hurt to look because they might uncover evidence for other cases or other missing people. Just like somebody was out looking the other day and they found a prehistoric bone. It's not related to Nancy Guthrie, but if they hadn't been looking for her, they wouldn't have found that. You know, other things can be solved and investigated. And all the lakes in the area should be checked as well. Why not? Now would be the perfect time to do it with the weather being warm. Okay. We've already talked about the do's and the don'ts. Oh, hey, Patrick. Yeah, I'm getting ready to watch my game. I'm just waiting. I gotta. This one's not coming on through my app. It's coming on through channel 11, and I don't have cable, so I'm gonna have to actually adjust the antenna that doesn't work very well and try to get me a good signal. It was a great game last night, but I only saw the last few innings because I was talking live to you guys. But I appreciate everybody coming in. I appreciate everybody that's watched the videos, everybody that gives me a thumbs up, everybody that comments. Remember, on these live chats, you can't see the chat until 24 to 48 hours later. You can always go and hit that super thanks, after the fact, or go see some of the long form content, or just go through the playlist. There's something here for everybody. Army Vet says Fort Huachuca Intelligence, Davis Mountain Air Force Base, electronic warfare, and DHS border surveillance has effectively turned southern Arizona into a highly sensitive security triangle. This is what they are hiding. But where are they searching? As Miss says, where? Um, Texas Diane says, Army vet, my daughter was stationed there. We bought property in Sierra Vista. Yeah, no, it's heavily, there's a lot of military there. Let's get everybody out. Let's find Nancy Guthrie. That's all I want. Is I want, if I can just come on here for as often as I can, rain or shine, and just I want to keep this case relevant. But I do want to be able to get out and make some other long form content because I can't keep complaining that nobody's watching the long form content if I'm not out there making new videos because I'm too busy doing these lives. Like I love it. I love talking to you. You guys are like you've become my family, my YouTube family. Look at how everybody celebrated my birthday and all the cards and letters and people that are buying things from the Amazon wish list. I mean, I never expected any of this. The super chats. I mean, just look at our friend from Israel. I think he's contributed over 100 super chats. It's just, I've got chats from India, and, the UK, and Israel, and the United States, and it's all the jewels that people are sending. I mean, this is amazing. But I'm not doing this for the money, and anything that I make from this is just going to pay myself back for the last 5 years and 4 months that I've been making videos. I do it because I want to do it, not because I'm trying to get paid. But all you guys that are contributing has helped me so much with everything that's happened to me in my personal life and my business life because of my cancer and then my subsequent heart issues. Like, I can't believe that I've grown this to this, and I can say that we're almost at 3,000. For me, that's huge. I just wanted to document my life after breast cancer, and here we are 5 years and 4 months later, and I have all these new friends that we've all been brought together because of Miss Nancy. And I wish this had never happened, and I wish this lady was just living her life, and Savannah was happy right now. And this is just it's this is just such a tragedy. But let's try to have something good come out of this, no matter what it's going to be. Let's try to have some positives come out of this horrible situation. Army Vet says DHS border security operations are heavily integrated with these classified satellite feeds, which provide real time tracking, terrain modeling, and frequency analysis of the entire border region. Well, I could assume that from the border, but I don't necessarily think that they took her across the border. Sue Brock! Oh my God, we were just talking about all the Sues earlier. Sue, I'm getting ready to go off the air. You're going to have to see this on the playback. And thank you for coming in, Army Vet. I hope you're subscribed to my channel. Yeah, we had Sue Johnson in here, and we had Susan from Massachusetts, who I thought was Susan from Michigan, but no, it was Susan, who goes by Sue in Massachusetts. And then we had Sue Johnson from Buffalo, and now we've got Sue Brock. Um, yeah, a big supporter of the channel as well. Thank you, but I'm going to go see my game. Don't wanna miss the first pitch, and I will, see you guys later.